Tonight, remote viewing expert Tim Rifat is here live from the UK to talk about remote viewing reptilian consciousness. All right, my friend, when did you first get onto this whole idea that there may be other consciousness on this planet beside human consciousness, and then even beyond that? So give us the background on that, if you would.
It goes back to my early studies in the occult, where they talk about different levels of consciousness, different dimensions, and with remote viewing, which is psychic spying, you can actually enter different dimensions. You can enter the biophysical world, which overlays the physical world, and actually see these entities and then follow them back to their home dimensions. So one can actually see that even in the normal world, there are a number of energetic entities that are actually influencing mankind.
This whole idea of remote viewing remains one of the most profoundly fascinating that one could imagine. Now you're saying, and we've had many of the top remote viewers on, you're saying that in your experience, RV will let you go into other dimensions and actually meet up with or observe and follow other beings back to their home. This is really amazing.
Yeah, it's an aspect of remote viewing which is called interdimensional remote viewing, and you can think of the universe expanded so that there are different layers of the universe, and think of the universe altering a basic parameter so that you go from, like in an elevator, you go from one universe to the next, but as you drop down, the nature of the universe changes, so you go from one dimension to the next, to the next, to the next. Mm-hmm. And with remote viewing, you can actually journey to different dimensions of the Earth, because the Earth has different dimensional realities which you can actually travel to.
Can we even begin to hazard a guess as to how many different dimensional realities there might be?
Well, Carlos Castaneda talks about there being 600 different dimensional realities of the Earth.
All going on simultaneously.
Yeah, and that is the concept of the Megaverse, multiverse.
Now, we as humans are pretty much bound to one of those dimensions, although not exclusively, because we have people doing OBEs and they claim to be able to go other places. I'm not quite sure that we can draw a hard and fast line between OBEs, remote viewing, and all the different forms of it. There are a lot of lines to be drawn there, but nonetheless, humans are pretty much bound to this dimension.
No, the question is, if we are physical bodies with a biophysical component,
right,
remote viewing shows that we're not actually limited to this physical reality. We can actually project our biophysical field to any of these 600 different dimensional aspects of the Earth.
Yeah, I got the theory of it, but in point of fact, most people are not able or aware of that potential, so they are pretty much, as I said, bound to this particular plane.
No, the real question is, why if you and myself and the rest of humanity have this potential, why is it that the majority, 99.99 etc. percent, are acting as if they're just lumps of flesh with no ability and no awareness of what is actually their God-given right? What is actually holding them back? That's the prime question. From linking into their totality to actually become aware of their whole being.
Well, isn't that the game of oppression and subversion, to keep knowledge away from people, to bar them from that reality that they are cosmic beings and are being held pretty much here on this one dimension?
Correct. So if that is the case, and remote viewing shows that we are actually just in one aspect of the Earth's totality, there is actually a force that's keeping humans imprisoned. Mm-hmm. And then the question comes, what actually is this force? Where does it come from, and why is it doing that? And if one looks at the question, one strays into the territory of David Icke and The Truth Shall Set You Free, where he talks about humans being imprisoned within this reality.
Mm-hmm. Now,
in The Biggest Secret, he puts the blame on things called reptiloids, which are supposed to be 7-foot-high, shape-shifting reptiles, which
mm-hmm.
actually are the Queen Mother and the Queen and Bush and basically the elite. Now, what I found is that isn't actually the case. There is actually a consciousness and a group of entities that are holding humanity as a food source, but they're of a much more energetic nature. They're not actually 7-foot-high shape-shifting reptiles, but actually there's a group of entities which Carlos Castaneda talks about in his last book before he died, The Active Side of Infinity, called Mudshadows.
Right.
And what these actually are energetic parasites. Now, if you look at what they do in this world, they actually have projected their biophysical bodies from their own dimension into our dimension, and have actually then placed their nymphs, rather like the face huggers from Alien, but they're energetic face huggers, if that makes sense.
Got it.
Into the energy body of humans. So if you look at, with a remote viewing, remote sensing, at the energy body of a normal American citizen, or any normal human, you'll find that they've got this energetic parasite lodged in the top of their energy body, in the top of their biophysical field, and it then has actually burrowed its body into the center of their energy field.
Oh, so yeah, pretty ugly vision there. We often call these, I would assume, entities.
Yes. So what seems to be the case from remote viewing is mm-hmm. that there are alien entities buried in the biophysical body, not the physical body, the biophysical body of man. And since the biophysical body of man is actually the seat of mind and awareness, mm-hmm. they actually then control the awareness of mankind.
Ergo, possession.
Yes. So they then can limit the functioning of the biophysical body. Mm-hmm. So it then acts as if it can't do anything, and they keep the human physical form trapped in this dimension and trapped within very limited awareness.
And feed off of it.
Exactly. So what they do is actually they eat the biophysical body, and
Do they kill the host, or just feed off of it at their leisure, not killing off the source of their nutrition?
No, they actually kill off the human by eating the biophysical energy body, the external. Basically, the bit that they like the most is the external outside of the energy body, which they need to convert into a form which they can, digest. And in order to do that, they need to pump the feelings of chaos into the awareness of that energy body. So they need to create fear, terror, warfare,
stress,
hatred, petty, evil.
Yeah, I get it.
Basically the human condition we live in.
Well, and then, it's quite a revolutionary paradigm to lay on this, but it's one of those things that, again, sort of adds up if you think about it, the way you're presenting it. Let me ask a couple of questions. We'll get to phone calls later. If they do feed off and kill the bioenergy field of the human, what is left? Does the human die?
Yes. Basically, what happens is they eat the outside surface of the energy body, which is the awareness of the human, to the point where it sinks all the way down to just a small layer on the ground. Now, this then allows a force, a part of the unified field, to actually hammer the energy body. So you weaken the structural integrity of the energy body to the point where eventually it breaks apart, and once it breaks apart, the person dies. So what they cause is the premature aging and death of humans.
All right, Tim Rifat, remarkable presentation. We'll be back to consider this more, and I'm Jeff Rense. Don't forget the website at sightings.com. Be right back. And welcome back. Talking with Tim Rifat live in the UK about some pretty eclectic material tonight. This idea of possession, Tim, or nymphs, as you describe them, adhering and affixing themselves to the bioenergetic fields of human beings and, well, beginning to kill that person slowly but surely. How would you equate that to the commonly understood and commonly held belief that possession is possible? And some people can allegedly be viewed by people who have psychic ability and be seen to have these dark energy fields attached to them. Some people reportedly have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 of them at one time attached to them, causing no end of grief and strife and personal turmoil. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, but the basic thing is that the whole of humanity is possessed by this certain race of energy beings, and there are a certain few humans who've actually had their biophysical body completely consumed, and the actual, what we call it, the infectile, the thing that produces the nymphs, is actually using that body.
Uh-huh.
And these bodies are then used by the energy body of these alien parasites to spread these nymphs to increase the possession of the humans. And what happens is the energy body is seriously degraded to the point where it can do basically nothing, so that humans display no paranormal powers. The biophysical body orders the physical body. It's the source of life energy. So what happens is that the human body becomes fat and disfigured, because if you look at, say, for example, a normal fit human, they're perfectly proportioned and they look healthy and full of vigor. But if you look at a normal person, you'll find they look pretty unhealthy. More and more people are becoming out of condition fat, and it isn't their fault. Actually, the spread of this energy parasite is causing more and more degradation of the biophysical body.